Please join me in giving Almu a very warm welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for coming in this rainy day. We're very cozy here and very warm. Thank you so much to Nicole for inviting me and so we can all be here today. So I was really excited when Nicole asked me to join, and especially with the theme that we are going to be covering today, revival. But before we dive in, I'm going to show you a little reel of my work so you can see some spoilers of the things that we are going to talk about and get an idea of where I come from. Thank you so much. So revival was an amazing thing for me to tackle. For me, it has a huge connection with rebirth, and it's something that I've been doing a lot of my life in my art. And I would love to share with you today 3 different revivals that I left that had the strongest mark in my life and my art. The first one was with risk making. The biggest revivals in my life came from radical changes, both in my life and my art. I'm going to share some stories. Also revival with emotions. I had a huge explosion of creativity when I started to connect deeply inside of myself. And revival in nature. I found out recently, just in the last few years, how much you can deepen your perspective by connecting with nature and the world around you. So, revival on risk. One sunny day on 2012, this is me. I was an architect working in China. I was young, I'm not so young anymore, but I was there, and there are some skyscrapers in China that have my name on the credits, and I was working in a really nice firm. They asked me to become a partner. I will have the high life in China. Cut to 2 months later, I don't have a penny, my bank account is at 0, and I'm working as a waitress in the south of England because I'm studying cinema. I decided to take a huge risk, put all of my savings of being an architect for 3 years into education, and really follow my passion of working in cinema. You can imagine the faces of my family and friends like, what are you doing with your life? But it paid off, we are here today. So it was a huge risk, and it's something that I kept doing throughout all of my life. And from that moment on, I always keep checking with myself, and I do it even today. I constantly check with myself every so often, maybe once a month, every 6 months. Is it that you are doing now is the maximum expression of who you are, what you can do, is the thing that is really connected with your passion? And if the answer is no, I just keep looking, and I keep changing, and I keep trying to find it. So, because architectural design is not something that I decided, it was something that was decided for me. And I always like to say that I was born with a pencil in my hands, and I have proof. I have 6 months, I don't know how to walk, but I'm already drawing. And I have always grown up telling stories and drawing stories for my friends and my sisters. So I decided that I was going to live my life for myself and not let anyone live my life for me. And I just kept doing it. So I tried to connect everything that I learned until then. I grew up doing fine arts since I was 6 years old. Everything that I learned in architectural design, that I wouldn't change it for anything, I will do it again, because it gave me a set of tools that they are fundamental for me day to day in filmmaking. And I just kept doing, and I changed career 3 times already. And every time you start from zero, from the ground up, and you need to not only demonstrate everybody else that you can do it, but also yourself, that this is the right way and this is the right path. but I always keep connecting with that inner voice inside. And for the longest time, I couldn't get hired. Like, it was a real struggle for me when I wanted to move in the entertainment industry, because I am a heavily generalist person, and the industry is heavily specialized. So everybody was trying to slot me in a specific role or a specific industry, and I was struggling. I couldn't get hired, but I also couldn't see myself just doing the same thing for the rest of my life. So again, I decided to stay true to myself and who I was. I knew it was going to be more difficult because I needed to learn a wider set of skills, but it's what eventually brought me into the director's chair, because I was that person that could weave threads in between different ideas, different departments, and even different disciplines of thought. And now is my biggest strength, what started as my biggest weakness. And I get called for it, and I thrive on it, and it's something that brings me a lot of happiness every day. So I was doing all of these different things, and I felt all of my life that I was orbiting around something that I couldn't define, that I was trying to find. First, in architectural design, I was able to express emotions and create experiences for people, but still attached to real life. When I moved to live action and I started to work in Jason Bourne and Aladdin, I could expand the worlds that I could create, but I was still attached to the way that life looks. And then finally, when I eventually arrived into animation and I was diving into more fundamental ways of expressing, I found that I could craft absolutely everything in the frame to deliver an emotion. And funny enough, when I started doing this kind of projects that I do today, I realized that the farther you get from reality, the more real it gets, because you can really, really push the emotion that you want to express, and you can really, really touch deeply someone with it. And this is what I've always tried to find. I've always followed this. I try continuously to ask myself, what is the style I can do? What is the industry? What is the role that I can do that follows these four things? In Ikigai, this amazing Japanese wisdom that they know so well, Ikigai is your passion, is your role in life, your mission in life, you could say. And it's that thing that you can do, that place that you can be, that joins what you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. So I totally encourage you to try to look for that thing. So the next revival came not long ago, some years ago, by connecting with my emotions. So basically I realized that to be a highly efficient person in this high-paced society, as someone said before just now, I needed to kind of flat life through life a little bit. And this realization came one day. I was struggling personally in something a lot, and a friend was trying to help me. She was trying to ask him a lot of questions, and I started to get angry with her. And I said to her, I only have 30 minutes break right now. I have an afternoon full of meetings. I have a business dinner afterwards. I have a midnight call with Europe. I don't have time for emotions. And just by saying that sentence, it was a huge catalyzer for me, because I realized about many things. And from then on, I decided that I was going to look at the eyes at my inside, at my own emotions every day, constantly. And I started doing Women's Circle, like this. This is an illustration that I did of one that I did recently in Sydney. And I started doing everything that I could. Like I did Temazcals in Mexico. They're doing Temazcals in Sydney here as well, in Berkeley, which I totally recommend you to join. And I was constantly connecting with that. And something incredible happened. All of my hearts and all of my joys started pouring into my art, and people started to connect way more with my art when I was creating. So I found myself weeping when I was drawing this painting for a pitch, where I was expressing how they were killing some Spanish people in a shipwreck in Ireland because they just saw them as outsiders, as something very abstract, and they couldn't connect with their pain. I cried for the 2 hours that took me to draw this demigod that is sick, because I realized that I was in a way drawing my sick father just before he died. So doing this connection brought a huge explosion in my art, and I recommend you to connect with your emotions and create with them. Whenever one of them comes, look at them, connect with it, ask yourself, where is this coming from? And some way, just try to put it in your next briefing. And people started to really, really see the results. I started to express the comfy feeling and the warm feeling that my grandma awakens on me when we sit in the fire in our little village in Spain. Or the melancholic and warm feeling of saying goodbye to your friends and your cousins at the end of summer when you need to go back from the village to the main city. or the amazing awe of nature, of this incredible pattern, fractal design that is nature, that, where everything is connected, that I try to express in my art in the film of Belle. My deepest fears when I was a kid and I couldn't sleep when I was just 5 years old because I saw shadows coming from the closet and I needed a light that it was always on, and I tried to express it in the Banshee of the dark side force that I created in visions. I tried to create an image and a being that will express raw fear and despair. The feeling of living in London that I put in my father's line, and I really, really love living in London.
Or Sydney.
Or Sydney today, yeah, very similar. And then the next connection came by I started drawing in nature, which was a huge surprise for me. This started in 2019, just before the pandemic, where I did a road trip with 4 artist friends. And we went from San Francisco to LA in a road trip, and we stopped in all of the national parks on the way. There was an incredible experience. Those lands are made for roaming. They are some of the most beautiful corners of the earth. And we visited Sequoia Park, we visited Yosemite, we went to Zion Park, we went to the Grand Canyon, we drew the Grand Canyon at sunset, we drew the Grand Canyon at sunrise. And we went to the Antelope Canyon, and something happened here. We stayed in Navajo Nation with a Navajo family. And we were incredibly lucky because we were allowed to have a private tour in one of the canyons that they had just discovered on their territory. And we were given the tour by the teenager, the niece of the family. And we asked her, listen, we are 5 artists, we would really love to draw the canyon. Can we just stop just for 1 hour? And we draw it. And she was super happy to accommodate that. And while we were sitting and we were drawing, she started telling us about her upbringing of being a Navajo on one side and being also in our Occidental society that we've built. And it was fascinating, and it was really shocking for me, especially when she was relating the ritual, the ceremony that they have when they become a girl and they become a woman, when they have their first moon. And it was super powerful. She was telling us about the dances, for a whole night they spent it dancing and singing. All of the women of the clan and the lineage is there supporting her and teaching her things. The elders become someone really fundamental in society. They are the keepers of wisdom. They are the guiding leaders that follow you through all of your life. They don't just become burdens like can happen sometimes in society, right? And she was explaining how the person she was when she got inside of that lodge at sunset, she spent the whole evening doing dances that are really tasking for her body and her spirit, and how she was reborn at sunrise when she left the lodge, and the huge difference that she felt in herself and the maturity that just emerged from that one single act. And that was really impactful for me. So I really started to connect with this ancient wisdom and tradition and see how much of that we can integrate in our day-to-day today, because you just you don't have to leave society and just go in nature. You can integrate some of those things in our society today. So when I arrived to Australia, of course, 3.5 years ago, there was a huge opportunity, and I tried to connect with our Aboriginal community as much as possible. This is something that I would recommend everyone. Last year I did an art center volunteer in close to Uluru in Yuendumu. This is the map of some of the art centers, but there are so many. If you want to know more information, you can ask me or send me an email or ask today, because it's an experience that I recommend absolutely everyone. And for a few weeks, I was living with them, I was creating art with them, and it was something that has changed my life completely. And I'm going to show you a little bit of it. So for a few weeks, I call this place home. Warlukulango is 5 different countries. And I developed a huge veneration for our brothers and sisters that they are the ones that keep this pristine connection with the land and the earth. And I was sleeping with them under the fire, under the stars. I was sharing culture, we were painting together in the ground. I was invited randomly to a secret women's ceremony in the middle of the desert that I cannot share and I cannot show, but it was absolutely incredible. And I developed a connection with the earth that I've never experienced in my life before, and it was really life-changing for me. So I totally recommend you to do something similar if you can. So, and now I'm going to show, I don't like to show this, and I totally blame Nicole for making me do this. But I was really, really blessed, and I was really lucky, and I only share it as a proof of recognition. For our work on Bell, I received an Annie Award nomination for the work that we did and the sequence that we designed. And I don't take it from like a place of showing off, but just as a proof of the deeper you connect with your art, the more impact it has on people. And I was super lucky. Some people liked it so much that they wanted to give it an award, and it was a blessing to receive that connection with other people. So I'm going to show you now what we did in that sequence. So we need to create this dream vision of an AI that is making this girl lost, and I try to pour out my reverence for nature in here, in this succession of landscapes and how beautiful it is, and this feeling of getting lost sometimes and finding your way, finding guidance in nature and in the world around you. It was a great experience to design it. And then last year we went to LA for the Emmy Award for Star Wars Visions, which also was a huge moment, and I'm really, really happy. So you can see how from your biggest risk came my biggest revivals and my biggest awards. And it was all amazing for me to see the impact. Star Wars is a huge speaker that puts your art into the world, and the reaction was super intense for all of the fans. Also, the fans are really vocal these days on the internet, which was awesome for me to witness, and I loved it. And the amount of reactions, it was fascinating to see. So it was really, really, really touching. So this is the revival. You can see how from the biggest risk came the biggest revivals, and deeply connecting with myself, with who I am, staying true to myself and my emotions, and connecting with nature and this ancestral wisdom. I have the huge changes and rebirths in my life. So the deeper you connect with yourself, you can see that the richer you can find, the farther you can reach outside. So I totally recommend you to do something like this, and let's revive.
One more round of applause for Almu. So we have time for Q&A. So think of some questions. Oh my God, there's so many things to ask. Actually, because I have the mic, I'm going to start. Can you tell us more about? You mentioned going to those art centres in Northern Territory. That sounded so incredible. Tell us more about that.
So basically, in some of the art centers you can volunteer, and in my case, if you have an artistic project that you present and you show them, you can do some research part of your time in there. So in the mornings you are helping the place, and you are helping the artists to paint. Sometimes I was painting with them as well when they were doing their thing. And then in the evenings I had access to the archives of all of the art that they've done, and even some cultural recordings that only yourself can enter the room. You cannot say anything about what you've seen, but you can see it, and you can share with them and connect with them. So I was there for just a couple of weeks, and I connected that with the Darwin Art Festival that happens every year in August, where all of the art centers go to one location in a huge industrial place. And you can talk to all of the artists, you can see all of the styles, all of the traditions, and they also have cultural shows, so that was fantastic as well. And there are so many. Not all of them do volunteer programs, but the ones that do is absolutely incredible, so I really encourage.
Who has questions?
Did you end up getting sort of one big break, or was it like a series of sort of small opportunities?
It was a succession.
Now we just repeat the question
Oh
so
yes,
everyone at the back.
yeah. So at the beginning I was struggling a lot, and there was a big break. So there were several and small ones. And the big breaks were always coming when I had this moment of connection with myself and realization, like I was establishing a new path. So I decided, okay, I'm going to work in cinema. So I started in live action because it was my entry point. And I was always constantly looking for it. So I went to a little company that it was in the south of England. In London, there was at that time one of the biggest central places in Soho where they were doing visual effects. And in the south of England, some of those people, they were starting a small company. So I just went there, I knocked the door literally, and I was lucky because there was some window so they could see me. They're like, like, who's this woman? So they opened the door, listen, I'm a concept artist, this is my portfolio, I don't know if you might need my services. And they brought me to the CEO company, the CEO desk, and it was 8:45, I remember, because he didn't even have his tea. And someone from the team brought the tea to him, and he was like, well, this might be one of the greatest things that happened to me before I sipped my tea for the first time. And I was working with them for a week, but the concept art finished. But I really wanted to stay there because I knew that if I was going back home, I was again ground zero and I've been working so hard for this. So I asked him, okay, you don't have concept art, what else do you have? And he told me, I have compositing. If you know the software in 3 days, I can give you a shot. And I said, you have it. So it was Thursday, I worked, I called my friends that knew the software, can you teach me? I cook for you for 3 days. And they did. I knocked the door on Monday and he said, like, do you know Nuke? It was the software, and I said, yes. Okay, this is your seat. And I stayed in the company, and in the end I only did compositing for 2 weeks because then concept art started coming in, and storyboardings, and matte paintings, and textures. So I was there, I was already sitting, and I became the art director of the studio in 2 months. So, but it was only because of these small steps that I was really committed, I really wanted to do it. And then I was constantly checking. Whenever I started to feel friction in my art and my life, I said, okay, what's going on? What happens here? And then I decided, okay, I want to stylize more the art that I'm doing. I want to push the emotions. And I trained myself on my free time to work in animation, and I started doing more graphic and more abstract art. And I started to study the unconscious, to study the symbols, so I can connect deeply with our true essence as humans and speak the language of the unconscious, so I can really connect with that. And then I went to Annecy. I really wanted to work with Cartoon Salon because I saw their work and I saw them talking, and I said, okay, this is some people that I want to do art with. And I went looking for them in Annecy, which is an animation festival in France, and I got an interview with them, and they offered me to go to Ireland, and it has always been like this. And yeah, it has been small steps, small breaks. I always, because a lot of people say, oh, you're very lucky, but I always ask, like, am I? Like, I work super hard and I am in the place. I become lucky because I am there in the moment that I have to be, and I connect, and I don't lose chances. Like, if I see a director that I want to work with, I go and talk to him, you know? Like, I don't lose time. So yeah, it was a succession of little breakthroughs.
Thank you.
I love the hassle. If you want it, you go and get it. So I just want to say, what is, love it. And I want to say, what is your next dream goal? What's your next goal and your dream project, or if there's any exciting projects coming up?
Deep down in my heart, I want to open a studio because I want to do all of these projects and all of these things, and I want to express and explore a lot of things that are very different to a lot of things that has been doing. I've been looking for many years if there is anyone in the world that is doing these things that I want to do, and I haven't found it. So I realized recently, like, then I need to do it myself. So this is what I'm working towards now for the next years. Maybe I come back in, I don't know, 5 years, and I show you my studio, and it will be great and awesome. But yeah, this is the goal for the next. We'll see what happens. But now I'm flowing a little bit more. Like, I'm directing things and see what comes, and the great things are coming. So.
How do you choose which risks you're going to take?
How do I? Sorry.
How do you choose which risks you're going to take?
Choose the risks. I always just connect, like, I ask myself a lot of questions and check. I always investigate a lot. When I'm starting to get a tingling for something, I research it a lot before diving in. It's not like I just go, you know, like, but once I know how it works and I realize, okay, yeah, this is the thing that I want to do, then I go. But it's usually a balance between, I always look at, I live intensely, so I consider every day the last day of my life, but at the same time I look at the last day of my life. So I'm constantly having one eye in both of them. So I make a decision and my risk looking at those things. Like, is this something that is going to bring me a lot of experience of living right now, but also in the long run is going to be something that is going to bring me towards my goal. And the goal at the last day of my life keeps changing, but now at the beginning it was there and I was doing this and then I was doing that, but now slowly it's narrowing a little bit. You know, the more I do things and I discover and connect with people and just being human, you know, like all of these things of emotions, the more is narrowing a little bit, so, and that's really exciting. And Ikigai, I look at the Ikigai.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the change from architecture to cinema and
Yeah.
whether you always felt like before choosing what you were going to study, whether you always wanted to go into cinema but you felt like you needed to choose architecture, or if you really thought that architecture was your path and then just reassessed and thought, actually this is not really what I want.
Yeah, I always wanted to work in cinema.
Yeah.
There was one specific time that it was the previous day of me starting architectural design. I was with my boyfriend at the time and we were looking at the clouds and he was like, I was telling him like, you know, I really don't want to do architectural design but my family wants to, so I have to do it. And now I love doing it. Like I would do it again anyway, but and he told me like, what would you do if you could choose? And when we were going back home, I took the DVD of The Lord of the Rings, the making of, and I told him I want to be one of these people. Like I want to be there. But it was just a dream, you know. It was at that time in Spain working in cinema. It was at the same place at cinema. It was just a fantasy. It was not a reality. But then when I was an architect, we met a filmmaker because one of the museum exhibitions that we wanted to do, it was like a film. So we hired a film director. And when I met him, he's like, I want to be you. How can I become you? And he told me everything about all the schools and the system and the process. And I started my plan, you know, and I researched it for a couple of years. I was doing it at the same time as architectural design, but it was impossible. Like I needed momentum and I needed a full immersion in it. So I decided to quit. And for that year, I didn't study in a specific university. I got accepted in a university, but I realized that again, there was a lot in me. I needed to either do video games, or either animation, or maybe live action, or illustration. And I just wanted to learn how to tell stories visually in general. So I looked at all of the industries, I thought, what are the strengths of each one of them? So the use of storytelling in lighting and camera and composition in cinema is unparalleled. So I studied that for them. Lighting and color and design in animation is bombastic, some of the best. I studied there. Environment design in video games, so immersive, and I went with them. And now we can learn, we have access with online learning to the best people in the industry, and they have feedback sessions, you have one-on-one with them, and that was incredible. So I prepared a full year when every 2 months I was studying one of these things, and I gave myself 1 year to do this portfolio. And there was always like, if we don't do it, because I was my partner and I, we were doing it at the same time because we both wanted to do it, we would just go back to architectural design. And then I did it, you know, I started working in live action, I had this moment of the waving in the window, and everything just continued to roll from there. And the transition, it wasn't so different, because funny enough, your brain does the same thing, because a film and a building is just a complex puzzle in which you need to combine something really artistic, you need to be a poet, but also you need to be a technician, because there needs to be a heavy structure underneath, like it's construction and physics in architectural design, and so many other things in cinema, like the technical aspects of it, and the day-to-day, the practical elements, logistics, this needs to go first and this needs to go last. But always combining it with creating an experience for people to live in and feel deeply. So the brain does the same thing. So it was just a change of medium, but it was the same process. So yeah, it was beautiful. Yes.
Hi. I'm fascinated about where does money fit in all of this? Because I'm like totally lit up, so inspired by everything you've said, and at no point in your journey is this like screeching halt of like, but I just didn't think I'd have the money to kind of maybe do that.
Yeah.
And you sound like you've got a really healthy relationship with it, or some mantra that you trust about money will come. And I mean money as in means, not income that's over and above, like how am I going to get big? It's like, how am I going to do this and survive and move and jump and go? It sounds like it's happened anyway, but to me that feels like there's just like a deep trust that you've got maybe, but I'm just interested.
Yeah.
I hear the creativity and I'm so inspired, but for me, I kind of go, and there's a screech where I go, yeah, but I can't.
I know.
So I'm just curious what your thoughts about money are.
I just plan for it a lot. Like, and you know, I've been there. I've been in my bank account has been zero so many times, so I know that it's not that bad. You know, you can survive always. You always have a friend that can give you food, like, you know, and you always can find some coins and you can do something, you know, to get a little bit of it. But I plan a lot. Like, I'm always like looking at that. So when I put all my savings that year, I struggled a lot. I couldn't do anything. Like, to go to Starbucks, I needed to literally count the coins of the tips that I was getting as a waitress. And maybe I could afford it once a month, and I could have an afternoon in Starbucks going and having an amazing coffee. But you know, that was it. So I needed to live with it. But because I was fueled by my passion and I was finally doing what I want to do in life, it wasn't such a problem. But I always planning a lot, and so many times I planned for years. So many times now I'm moving into more indie productions where the money is way less. So I need to kind of support myself a little bit to be able to afford to work in these productions. But I've been working on saving a lot and creating a system of money receiving for years prior. So now I can allow myself the freedom, and even the freedom to go to the desert for 2 or 3 weeks, you know, like you need to pay yourself to do that as well. So I just plan way ahead for myself in the future, and I have a soft cushion, so then I can flow a little bit and allow for all of these changes and things to happen. But yeah, it's just planning.
Thank you.
So you were on the country last year, and I also stayed I've been in the country with Indigenous elders and artists actually as well, and it's so powerful, right? Like I've traveled all over the world my whole life, and I've never felt so plugged in as when I was on the country. And I was curious that working there and doing the art, have you kind of in your mind dreamed up any ideas for animation that tells an Indigenous story? Because I think we don't have a lot of that storytelling in Australia. Like we have a good friend of mine has a film that I work closely with that will go in production this year that's Indigenous. But this type of animation work you do is so beautiful. It's, you know, borders on the anime side and it brings in other things. That would be a really unique artistic brush on Indigenous that hasn't ever been done before. And we talk about wanting to do things that are really different and unconventional. And such like when you were there, did you have any visions of Indigenous characters and what an animation might look like?
Yes, yeah. It's one of my dreams. It's something that I would absolutely love to do, and I'm going to create it here today, guys. Like, there are amazing artists like him that is already doing some amazing animation, but it's a dream that I have. Like, I really want to do something like this, and this is one of the reasons as well that I went there, because in Yuendumu you have the art center and the media center. They were doing some stop motion animation, the bus mechanics, that it was that day, and we visited the studio and everything. And I'm constantly researching, like I've been researching for the last 2 years, how we could do this, because I wanted to be a partnership. I wanted to be joining forces. Like, I bring all of my knowledge of filmmaking and cinematography and everything and animation, but like bring them as well, like as artists and authors, so we can combine forces and strengths and do the best. So I'm constantly trying to see how I can make it happen. I go to a lot of events, I ask for a lot of people, I'm researching all of the funding applications that are here as well. And it's something that I want to do.
It's so beautiful. Like, there's never been done
yeah.
that, like Indigenous storytelling in your type of style.
Yes.
It's very rare.
It will be incredible because the art is so unique, and so when you talk to them, all of the symbols that they put is very diagrammatic as well. So perfect for animation and the way they express nature. And it's not just nature.
And the green side of the storytelling, like it all leads into it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not just colors, they put so much meaning and so many layers as well. When they paint a landscape, then they not only paint the landscape that you see, they also paint the energy systems underneath and the animal systems that are there and the water systems, and everything is connected in the paintings that they are expressing, and it's incredible. We could do something so beautiful and try to, because also these ways of these perspectives on life, there's more abstract. So animation is perfect for that, because something that you cannot do in live action, because you are so attached to reality that it's difficult to bring you into these realms. But in animation, like we were doing a hallucination expressing the force, something that you can only do in animation. This could be the same. It would be the best way to express their dreamtime, the way of seeing everything connected.
I'm going to manifest it for you.
Let's do it.
I'm going to be looking for it.
Keep this date in the calendar today, the day that this started. Let's do it because I really, really want to do it. It will be incredible.
So, guys, give Almu another round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. Also, thank you to Wayan because she introduced us. And that was such an incredible talk. And wow, we could just probably sit and talk about your life for hours. But I think what I'm feeling, and hopefully what all of you guys are feeling, is this just deep inspiration. And my hope is that you can all take some of Almu's inspiration for your own lives and your own creativity, and especially the risk-taking. And you reminded me of one of my favorite quotes that I heard once. I had to pull over the car, I was driving, and the quote was, "The braver I am, the luckier I get." And that, I think, is how you live. It's not about like, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, no, you knock on the window and wave and do crazy shit like that. So I'm just full of inspiration. I hope all of you guys are as well. So thank you so much for that incredible talk and sharing yourself and your art and your life so authentically. So inspiring. Guys, that's it. Just thank you also for coming out, and how lucky are we to walk away with so much inspiration in such a shit day like this. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a round of applause.